Hi there, Sonja here from the Art of Stamping. I'm very excited to share with you today this card I made to celebrate with you the release of the new Garden Blooms collection over at Purple Onion Designs. I made a few cards for the release, but this is a really fun one that can easily be reproduced, so I thought it would be nice to share with you how it came together. Unfortunately, when I first recorded the making of my card, my camera failed me, so that I had to re-record the whole process. That's why you already see the finished card at the beginning. But hey, that's fun too. At least we know now where we're going, don't we? I started off with a card-sized piece of watercolor paper. To stamp, I'm using waterproof archival ink in watering can. This is a neutral grey hue, and I've opted for this one instead of a black because it adds to the washed-out rainy look of the finished card. Deep black outlines would be too contrastive for this scene. The image I'm using actually is an accessory stamp. It's an umbrella that is intended for use with the cute little critters in the new release. But as you can see from my example, you can also use it as the focal image of a card. For the coloring, I'll be using a bright rainbow selection of distress markers, and later on, for the background, I'll be switching to distress reinkers because it's easier to cover a larger area with the pure colors. I'm starting off stamping the image in a random pattern down onto the paper. I'm using my MISTI here only because I'm working with watercolor paper. As this paper is lightly structured, it can sometimes become difficult to get a crisp impression by only stamping an image down once. And with the MISTI, you can re-stamp your image in the same position as often as you wish. So I found it safer here to use it instead of an ordinary acrylic block. Generally, however, this would be absolutely fine as well. Of course, there are no rules for how to align the images for a random pattern. For this card, I just made sure to rotate my image repeatedly and vary its direction to obtain an impression of movement so that it seems as if the umbrellas were blown around by the storm. Now let's start the coloring process. The markers I'm using are picked raspberry, candied apple, carved pumpkin, mustard seed, mowed lawn, peacock feathers, salty ocean, wilted violet and gathered twigs. I also need some paint brushes, a glass of clean water and a cloth to dab off water from my brushes in between. I chose to color in each umbrella with two different hues of distress ink. And to slightly keep up the rainbow theme, I didn't choose the colors completely at random, but used hues that lie roughly adjacent on the color wheel for each umbrella. I'm starting off with a combination of picked raspberry and candied apple. The first thing I do before coloring anything with any coloring medium is planning where my shadows shall go. Of course, the umbrella card is very loosely colored in a rather illustrative style, so that I'm far from applying any realistic shadows here. But color gradation also brings movement into an image, and to achieve that, I decided to place all shadows at the lower part of the umbrella. So that's the place where I start to apply my ink. I'll be working in layers, and for my first layer I'll lay down the ink directly from the marker onto the dry paper before spreading it out with a moist paintbrush. Some pigments soak into the paper extremely fast, so that you cannot fully dissolve and blend the colors after the application, no matter how fast you work. But as I'm working in 2 or more layers on this card anyway, this doesn't bother me at this point. For now, I only want to lay down a soft base layer with a slight gradient that fades out towards the top of the umbrella. Having done this with both of my colors, I can start working on my second layer. With this layer, I want to deepen the shadows at the lower part of the umbrella, and I want the color to flow a little more freely to the top than before to obtain a watery, somewhat rainy effect. To achieve this, I first dampen the paper again only at the bottom area of the umbrella with some water. Then I drop in some more color. Distress markers have a felt nib. That's why you cannot apply color directly from the marker onto a wet surface. Instead of releasing color, the felt would soak up any moisture from the paper. That's why at that stage I need to grab an acrylic block, scribble down some color on it and take it off with my paintbrush before I can apply it to my image. I do this with both of my colors at least once. Sometimes I also apply a third or even a fourth layer until I'm happy with the look of my gradient. You can now watch the coloring of the first umbrella up to the end in real time. Then I'll speed up the process and be back when I start to color in the sky to tell you a bit more about the way I did this. Oh, and I almost forgot. Towards the end of my umbrella coloring, I'll also be laying down some color onto the canes. I'm following no specific technique when doing so. Again, I decided that the deepest shadows would be right below the umbrella's top and at the bottom part of the handle. So that's where I'll apply my color directly from the marker to blend it out with my brush from there. But now, enjoy the coloring! Okay, so now the umbrellas are finished, I start coloring the background. I'm switching to Distress Reinkers for this, because it's easier to fill in larger areas with them. The colors I'm using are Stormy Sky, of course, and Chipped Sapphire. I'm applying them in only 2 layers. My first layer is Stormy Sky, and I spread that color out over the whole background. To do so, I'm just wetting the paper with water and dropping in the color after that. Then I simply move it around to cover the whole area. I'm not bothering to smooth it out because I want to achieve a cloudy effect. After the Stormy Sky layer has dried, I go in again with Chipped Sapphire to darken the sky in some select areas. Doing so, I create depth and achieve a dramatic effect. All that's left to do now to finish off the scene is to create some raindrops. I do so with the help of some white acrylic paint. I dilute it with a lot of water and flick it onto my card panel. To protect my work surface and everything that's lying around while doing so, I put the panel into a box. The paint may look a bit too white at first and resemble snowflakes more than raindrops, but when it dries it will gradually soak up some of the distress ink and the brightness will be toned down a bit. And that's my finished panel. Thanks for watching. Should you have any questions or remarks, just comment on my blog or in the YouTube section below. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my card making stuff. Have a nice day! Bye!